So this is a slightly unusual video for myself, but I've been asked to tie flies out of litter that was collected at a mountain loch in Donegal. And I suppose part of the idea behind this is kind of to highlight the environmental pressure that our waterways, lakes, rivers, etc. are coming under. So my understanding is that this little lake used to contain char. Char are very rare fish these days and require a pristine environment. Brown trout got into the lake as well. That's probably a pressure on them too. And now what the guy who organised this is finding is that there's all sorts of rubbish, litter, etc. around. So his idea was he wanted to collect some of this stuff, send it to me and get me to tie flies with the material, and then he's going to take that up to the lake again and hopefully catch some fish on them. So whenever he first contacted me, I was kind of expecting, I was going to get bits and pieces of fur and feathers and stuff like that there, but I've got quite an array of stuff here, and some of it's going to be more challenging than others. Some of it will be unusable, but we'll see how we get on. So a lot of it's plastic, kind of waste. So we have bits of plastic bottles. I'm not sure that that'll be usable. We have some yellow plastic sacks. I think I can probably use that in some way and form in bodies or in ribs. I have some, I don't know, it might be like an onion type bag or a turf type bag here, and some of it has sort of weathered in the wind, and some of it, this red stuff here, I think should be quite useful. We have other bits and pieces of plastic bags. Got some lagging, I think, for a pipe. This is quite an interesting colour. I know straight away what I'm going to do with that. That's going to be a damselfly. There's some bits and pieces of rubber I can possibly use as backs on flies. Some baler twine in orange. Possibly use this as cheeks or tails or some sort of like a colour highlight. We have a couple of bits and pieces of feather. Possibly seagull, possibly heron. The label of a drinks bottle. Another bit of an orange sack. I think that there will be useful enough as like a biot type material. I have a little bit of wool that I can use for breathers and dubbing. A couple of little white feathers, possibly a white moth like that. This black netting stuff, I think I can pull this out of there, and that should give me like a flat black body on flies. Piece of cord, bits and bobs of white rope. I think that I might manage that. If I can separate it out, I might be able to manage that into a wing of something. I have a little bit of yellow fur that I think has come from some other fly tying involvement. Some bits of rubber. I think this is like some sort of like a rubber tie. So I would imagine I should be able to, yeah, I can cut slices off that, so I might be able to tie some sort of a buzzer with that. And I have a bit of wire here, or if I strip that, I'll get this wire out of the center of it, which I can use for ribbing flies, and I think I can possibly use this red coated bit for something as well. I have a dozed elastic band. Let's see what I can do with that. That might be able to be wrapped onto something. And a couple of other bits and pieces of plastic and plastic bags and stuff like that. So we'll have a go with it. We'll see. As I say, some of it I can see things I can do with it, and other things I think won't be usable. But we'll have a go, see what we produce. We're going to try and produce quite a range of flies, and hopefully that'll give them a good chance to catch fish. on them in any conditions. And what we're going to do is we'll tie maybe one fly here with purely just these materials so that you can see sort of the thought process behind it, and then we'll describe the other flies later on that are tied with the rest of the materials, because otherwise this video is going to end up about 10 hours long. So let's have a go, see how we get on. Okay, so the fly I'm going to try and tie is going to be a buzzer type fly. So legs like these generally will have some sort of chironomid type population of flies in it, and the more polluted I suppose they get, they tend to predominate in it. You'll get a lot of silt building up and stuff like that. And so this is sort of based on like a grey boy type buzzer. So what we're going to do is we're going to take the wire that we got. I've stripped this off a bit, and I'm going to take off a wire from that, and we're going to use that as the ribbing for our fly. So that keeps the fly together, and it'll add a little bit of weight as well. So I'll take that down around the bend, because these little insects tend to be curved, and they also have little breathers out the front. So for that, what I think I can use is this wool. So this must come out of a fence somewhere, got caught. So I'm just going to take that up to the front there and tie in a little bunch of that, and I'm going to trim that off later, and that'll just give these little like fibbits sticking out the front like breathers. So I'm going to try and make the body out of this feather. So I take off a little bunch of that, and I'm going to take that right down to the end here. Tie that in, and then I'm going to come up, hopefully leaving a fairly smooth underbody to wrap this on. It might be quite delicate because I don't know how long the feather has been in the environment, but we'll give it a go. I'm just going to put my hackle pliers onto this, and hopefully it will hold together. It's working. Tie that off, and then we'll trim off these little extra bits that we got. And then I'm going to come up with this wire that we got out of the little bit of wire that we were sent, and I'm going to wrap that in the opposite direction, and hopefully that will stop that from falling apart. And as I said, we get up here and we'll put on a couple of turns of that, and that'll just provide a little bit of weight and hopefully help the fly to sink. Now, where is it? This thing here, this orange bag thing, I think I can use that here create little hotspot cheeks. I think if this bag had been hadn't been out in the environment for so long, this might have been a brighter orange color, but it'll still work. So I'm going to tie in a strand of it, one on each side. And then I'm going to go for my feather again, because I'm going to use that as like a thorax cover for this. I'm going to tie that in on top. Now I'm tying in a slightly unusual direction here in that I'm tying backwards, but that's that. And now What will I use? Okay, I think we'll use a little bit of that. So this is a bit of carpet. I'm just going to put a very small amount of that on. And this is called dubbing. It just creates like a little furry section. So that will be our thorax. Pull that feather back, and then I'm going to pull the two orangey bits back across the sides, and then finish this fly off. Now generally we'll be finishing the fly off at the front, but just this reverse head tying technique makes this slightly different. Put that off, then we'll trim off all these bits here. And then the wool that we've left sticking out the front, we want to shorten that down. That just gives us these little breather effect here on the front. So we'll get a little bit of adhesive, varnish or super glue or whatever just onto the bit where we tied it off. And that is our little grey boy type buzzer, which should hopefully catch a fish. Now what we're going to do is we're going to take into the rest of these materials, and we're going to come up with a variety of different patterns, and what we'll do is we will talk through the different applications, or what we were aiming at with that. So got quite a few different flies tied. All of the flies contain some part of the litter that was collected at the lake, and some contain almost all, or in some the case of the fly we did tie, all of it is tied with the materials. So what we have are a few sedge type patterns. So sedge, what we used here, largely I like that carpet dubbing quite a bit, so I used that quite a bit in the tying, and then just added my own bushy sort of hackles to it, used the ribs where possible. Also tied a beetle type fly as well, we had a bit of black flecks there, so I split that and used that as the back for the beetle. We have some traditional style wet flies there, so we have something along the lines of a red butt green peter, a claret dabbler, and then something along the lines of like bibio colours, and like a blame black, which I found the black netting quite handy for. It created a really nice neat black bodies. We used the rib throughout. The only other thing that was suitable for ribs really was either the baler twine or the yellow plastic when I cut it into strips. We then have some Griffith's gnats. Now Griffith's gnats are like a little midge dry fly, so designed to float on top. We used the carpet for that, it was very good. A couple of nymphs, I used the baler twine as the tail, just to give me that little bit of an orange hot spot on them. We used the elastic bands to create like a docking group. It wasn't the easiest of a thing to tie. I managed to cut the red wire down and strap it just straight onto a hook, and that created a couple of bloodworm patterns for me. We obviously have the chironomid or buzzer patterns as well that we created, and then we have the larger dries. So with the blue foam we managed to create an extended body and create a damselfly. We also have a white moth which could be used late at night, and for that I used the wool, and I used one of the white feathers that we found, and then we have a couple of daddy longlegs patterns. So this late in the season, these crane flies, or daddy longlegs as we know them, blow onto the river or onto the lake, and fish go mad for them. So we managed to tie a few of them, again using the carpet as the dubbing and the white rope as the wings. So hopefully these flies will catch a few fish. Hopefully they can highlight the, I suppose, plight of our waterways with the pressures that are coming on them from pollution, etc. And I think we can all sort of learn a lesson that we should not leave stuff behind us. Just take your rubbish home with you. So hopefully you enjoyed the video. Hopefully it was some interest to you, and said on with catching some fish with the flies.